We'll be going over Streak's ability to actually integrate with LinkedIn so that you can go and add leads to your pipeline or to your contact list directly from a LinkedIn profile. So briefly, we'll talk about why this is important. First and foremost, it allows you to find and capture your leads quickly without losing any context. So we've all had those moments where we're trying to jot maybe someone's information down in our phone or remembering to add to our CRM, a spreadsheet of some sort. This allows you, for the minute you come up on a profile of someone you would like to engage with immediately or in the future, you can immediately pull them into that pipeline. Under that same note, it keeps all of your relationship data centralized in one place. So you are not jumping between screens and spreadsheets. Everything can be directly into your contact list or in your pipelines and Streak. And most obviously, it's going to save you a little bit of time. So instead of having to enter that information manually, what we can do is, with a few clicks, you can get a person's first and last name and a direct link to their LinkedIn right into your pipelines. However, to get that process started, you have to make sure you, at the very least, have access to the LinkedIn extension. So what I'm going to do now is share a different screen with you all so that we can begin that process, and I can show you directly how you can access that integration within your settings to ensure that you can get this LinkedIn integration moving. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my settings here in Google. Actually, if it lets me click those there, let me get this page refreshed. Hopefully that'll help things out. All right, so I'm going to go into my settings here, go into see all. You'll see here that there are two different options for the settings within Streak that you can tinker with. But for this specifically, we're going to go into our Streak settings. From our Streak settings, as you can see, there's a kind of a bit of customization you can do about other Streak related things such as tasks and notifications. But what we're looking for here is directly at the bottom of our screen, which is external integrations. And we want to make sure that we have the LinkedIn Send to Streak integration enabled. So since I have that all set there, I should be able to go into any page on my LinkedIn and form that connection immediately. So in my other tab here, I have LinkedIn open. For this example, we're going to add my favorite NBA player ever, Dwayne Wade. I'm shooting for big fish here. I want big leads in my pipeline. So let's say I go to Dwayne Wade's LinkedIn profile here. As you can see, next to the other options to follow his page, send a message, etc., you'll notice that there is an option now, because I enabled that integration, to send his contact information, aka his first and last name, and a link to his LinkedIn page directly to one of my pipelines. So what I'll do here now is click Send to Streak. And from here, I have two options. I can send him to my contact list, or I can send him directly into a pipeline. For this demo's purpose, I'm going to send him to a pipeline and then show you how that populates its own box. So I'm selling coffee beans and I'm hoping to get D Wade on a big deal someday. So I am going to add him to my wholesale coffee pipeline. As you can see, right after I do that, a few more things pop up even directly on this page. I can see that his information has been sent over to Streak. And if I scroll down a bit here, I could even see in how many pipelines his information now exists, and some overall sort of contact information for him as well. But to show you how that looks from my end within Streak, I could do that directly from here. But since I already have this pipeline open, I head back into my wholesale coffee pipeline. And as you can see here, I now have a box for D Wade here, and it has added his first and last name into the contact info here. If I click on his name here and open up his contact card, as you can see, it now also provides me for a direct link over to his LinkedIn. The good news is our team is currently working on functionality so that we can actually take this LinkedIn link here And with it, scrub to see if there is an email address associated with it. So we'll be able to auto enrich even more of this information. But for the time being, as I noted prior, you get their first and last name and a quick link and access to their LinkedIn profile. But eventually, this will also find an associated email if we can scrub one of those for you so that you can have an even more complete lead simply by clicking that send to streak box directly from LinkedIn. And that is how the LinkedIn functionality works. What I would love to sort of detail now is a few things that you can do within Streak once you have some folks in your leads to not allow those to go cold. With even more means to create boxes and add new leads, we need to make sure that we're keeping these leads organized in the way that they stay fresh and that none of my boxes go stagnant. And there's a couple features within Streak that we can use to make that process a bit easier. But before I jump into that, I just wanted to check with Lowell to see, are there any questions or anything so far on the kind of general functionality that we showed of the send to streak function within LinkedIn?
No, it looks like Maximus is having a little bit of trouble getting the button to show, but I think that might be a one-off case. So I'm gonna troubleshoot with him on the side. But yeah, I think you're good to move on for everyone else.
Okay, great. So let's say in this perfect world now, we've used this feature. We've got plenty of new boxes within our pipeline, but we want to keep track of how and where we met these folks. So what we can do now is I have a lead source column in my pipeline that I use as a drop down to kind of keep track of where I met all of my leads. So I'm going to actually change this drop down value here to LinkedIn. But as you can see, I have quite a few leads in my pipeline, and they're coming from kind of a variety of places here, from referrals, trade shows, social media, platforms, etc. Let's say I want to isolate only my leads that I met off of or that I found off of LinkedIn. The best way to do that sort of setup is through a saved view. So there are a couple ways you can create a saved view. I could do it directly from my lead source column here, but just to show you overall how that functions, I can come to this icon here, this kind of upside down triangle made of 3 lines, which is our save view editor. And from here, I can enter specific criteria for how I would like to sort through my pipeline to keep things organized. So the first thing I need to do is choose a column in which I want to sort by. Again, I'm looking at this lead source column here. So I'm going to go to choose column. And as you can see, any column that I have in my pipeline will appear here. So I'm going to go to lead source. Next, I need to choose how I want to sort through my lead source column. Since I am looking specifically to only see those that have that LinkedIn notation there, I'm going to say is any of. And since I did make this lead source column a drop down column, when I go to choose a value, it'll actually show all the values I have in that column. So what I can do from here is simply click LinkedIn and hit apply. So what Streak is doing now is only showing me the boxes where LinkedIn was there under the lead source. What I can do from here to make this super easy access is create a permanent save view. So as you can see under my wholesale coffee pipeline here, I already have some save views, meaning I can click any of these and immediately get to this filter view. But right now, the one that I just made, AKA my lead source for LinkedIn, is currently unsaved. In order to change that, I can come to this blue text here. I can either edit this view and change the criteria, clear it completely, or save it as a new view. So now that I have this pulled up, I'll just give this a name. Let's say I title this LinkedIn only and hit done. Now I'm back here in my overall holistic pipeline. However, if I want to kind of continue to drill in and go from the macro to the more micro view, I can simply come to LinkedIn only and immediately pull up all of these leads. So you can really start to imagine how in tandem with the LinkedIn integration, save views can help you kind of further segment out all of the data within your pipeline. So let's say now that we have all of this data in our pipeline and we want to do some sort of scheduled reach out to all of these leads, the best means to do that within Streak is with our mail merge functionality, which allows me to create a series of emails that can go out at a particular time and cadence in which I could set up all of those parameters as well. So what I do from here is I can always select either all of my boxes here in all of my stages to send this mail merge to, or obviously I could just select some specific boxes. So let's say I want to send a merge to just these folks here and remind them that maybe we have an engagement coming up and to see if they're still interested in kind of collaborating and working together. I can come to this paper airplane icon here. And from here, I'm given two options. I can create a new mail merge to send to these folks, or let's say I had designed one prior, a sort of sequence of emails. I can add them to that by hitting existing. But in this case, we'll do new. What this does is now it pulls up a menu here and it shows you all the folks who will actually receive your email. But what I can do from here is just give my email a subject line, upcoming event. Let's chat. And what I can do here is type the body of my email, whatever that might be. And once I have my first email sort of formulated, I can always continue to add follow-ups. So what I could say is if they don't respond to my first email, add them to a second. However, within these emails, I can also insert custom variables. So if I want to make sure I reference the first name of everyone I'm sending this to, I can simply come to this variable section. I can choose from my contact field, meaning I can reference their first name, last name, email address, any of this info I have in their contact section, or I can even come down to some of my custom columns. So for each of these folks, for my coffee business here, if I have a column that mentions the specific beans they're interested in, I can reference those in my variables. I can reference if we had discussed some sort of budget number or their specific sector, etc. But for this example, we'll insert some contact variables for their first name. As you can see, this is in red, which is telling me that for at least some of my recipients, I don't have the appropriate information. So what I can do is for those, I can either enter something specific that I would like, or I can kind of hit a fix all here and kind of give a default value for that given name. So I could say hello there. And for those folks who I don't have contact information for, that's what we'll fill in that particular variable. But for everyone else where I have a first and last, I can insert their first name into the email. From here, I can click add follow-up. And I can tell Streak if they do not respond to my first piece of correspondence, wait a select number of days, business days, or weeks and at a specific time, and send my second email off as well. So you can start to imagine how you can kind of avoid any of your leads going cold by sending out some scheduled messages to everyone. The last thing I would like to show in Mail Merge is a few of the advanced settings as well. So by default, we're going to make it so that replies actually pull the person out of your mail merge so they don't receive the next messages. However, if you want them to continue to receive your correspondence regardless of reply, I can always toggle that off here. And we are also by default auto detecting out of office and vacation responders so those don't end your merge. And you can also have the option to include some unsubscribed links. So again, between the LinkedIn integration, maybe creating a save view and then adding folks to specific merges based off of a lead source or a sector, you can see how you can stop any of these leads from going cold, from sending out some very specific sort of correspondence and mail merges based on any criteria that you kind of want to set for yourself. Do we have any questions about anything we've gone over or any kind of questions overall about the LinkedIn integration, save views, mail merge, our contact list, any of that?
We're looking good in the chat right now.
All right, so what I will do is come back here and stop my share. And yeah, we'll give it a second or so to see if any questions come through. But overall, I hope this has been useful for you to see how Streak can integrate with LinkedIn. And again, there's plenty more on the horizon to make this sort of auto enrichment even more robust for your leads to come in pretty easily as well.
It looks like we have one question coming in. Can we move the messages from LinkedIn to Streak? Unfortunately, that's not possible right now for us to do kind of a one-way or a two-way sync from LinkedIn messages into Streak. You can certainly manually copy and paste them in as either comments or meeting notes or call logs or something like that into Streak. But unfortunately, there's not a way right now to sync those messages automatically. It is something that we're aware of and have received requests for before. So yeah, there's a potential that could happen in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
And it looks like we have one more question from Jason. Excuse me, what's the timeline for email and phone number function to become available? Jason, if you're talking about the ability to enrich the contacts inside of Streak when they're imported from LinkedIn, like Jeremy was alluding to, we can't give exact timelines because we never totally know how long something's going to take to build. But I can tell you that is something we're actively working on over the next 6 weeks or so. So I would hope within a month or two we would have that complete, or at least an update for you there.
Yeah, absolutely. We know that's something that's really important to a lot of you using the function. So that is something we're definitely working on.
Yeah, and I would just make sure to monitor your email, and we'll be sure to notify folks when that functionality is released. And then also, if in your home view of Streak, in the bottom left quadrant there's a product release notes section, and that's a good place to check to see whenever we release functionality you're kind of waiting on.